Here's Deebo Samuel relieved that it was not a break in the shoulder.
Bro, it's right when I figured out it wasn't the same thing as the Browns game. It was kind of a relief because I know it wasn't a fracture. It was just like a deep bruise or whatever. But I'm talking about timeless hours in here day in and day out just to get where we at right now.
Okay, so Deebo's been putting in the work, and I'm no doubt. Like, you can hear it in his voice what has gone into getting him to this point. No injury designation at all. He is in, but don't forget, 6 days ago, that's all it was now. 6 days ago, what's emblazoned in my mind was the look on his face, that camera that caught him going into the locker room, because I do think the look on his face at that point was, man, it happened again. It happened again. And I think he thought in that moment that he was out for the rest of the playoffs.
Right. If it's broken, if it's fractured, then you can't play through it. But if it's a deep bruise, it's a deep bruise, as Ron Burgundy might say, you can work through that. Maybe not in the moment, and he was obviously in so much pain that he thought it was worse than it turned out to be. And so you don't play because you think it can get worse. And then you realize it's not broken. It's a deep bruise. Now you set about getting the treatment, which I would imagine is a lot of deep tissue massage and ice and trying to loosen that thing up and pain management as you go. And you get ready for Sunday. And hopefully you don't get any sort of re-injury, right, especially early in that game.
Well, and we're talking about the emotions that he must have been feeling Saturday. He talked about that.
At the time, it was hurting like really bad. I was kind of scared a little bit. Like, I thought I had fractured it again, and I was just all over the place then. In a big game like that, like, I had like millions of emotions on the sideline trying to kind of hold them together for my team. And, just to see them get the dub and stuff, I mean, that was kind of relief as well, just to know I have an extra week just to figure out what was going on. And we went and got an MRI and everything showed up negative, and it was just a deep bruise. And it was kind of painful at the time, but as the week on, like I just said, them doing a good job getting all the pain away, getting all my motion and strength back, and I feel like they did an outstanding job.
Yep, to the point where he's not even on the injury report at all. While he was sitting on the sideline, these were the thoughts he had as he watched Brock Purdy and the 49ers somehow navigate the fourth quarter.
That was amazing with how the game was going. Every game has its ups and downs, and, you got all the naysayers about Brock this, Brock that, this, that, and the third. But when Brock best was needed, he went out there and capitalized on the long drive. The receivers going out there making plays, Kittle from Christian, and, it all started with the O-line, and they just went out there and did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, he does bring up a point that, and we've said it a couple of times throughout the week. I get it when it comes from teammates. Teammates are always going to be there for their guy. But I do think that's something that Brock has probably not gotten enough credit for, which is usually we watch a player in the playoffs, and what matters is what they do in the end. We don't worry too much about the process. So in other words, take Brock's game and give it to any other quarterback in the playoffs, and they win. What do we say? What if Baker Mayfield had done that?
Oh, what an incredible performance by Baker Mayfield.
Exactly. No matter what had happened to that point, we would have said incredible, but that's not what Brock Purdy has afforded for whatever reason or set of reasons. All right. Was asked if he learned anything specifically about Brock in that game.
Not really, because I've been around him for 2 years now, I feel like forever. But, he's never, like, uptight or, the moment is never too big for him. He's always poised, cool. Even though I wasn't in the huddle, like, I can see it. And I can see, like, how the guys are reacting to the things that he's saying. But, with Brock being the commander of the huddle, like, you have no choice but to listen and just follow his lead. And he went out there and did a great job.
I do still get a kick out of listening to some of the teammates talk about his quote-unquote command of the group, because if you watched this group walk into a room, he's the last one that you would point at and go, oh, that's their leader, right? There's their leader. But there's obviously something different about his personality when he's with the guys in the huddle.
Yeah, and it's calm, that belies his relative youth and inexperience, and it's the quarterback's job to do that, but we forget sometimes that he is in his second year. He is only 23, and his whole route to become QB1 for a team that, again, is in the conference championship game, you can't take that for granted when it comes to the leadership that he continually shows.
We're moving toward the money quote from Deebo.
Okay.
There's two more. One, he's asked just about this game and putting his body on the line.
With a game like this, got to put everything on the line because we've been here 4 out of the last 5 years, and 3 years we fell short, and then 1 year we fell short of the Super Bowl. It's kind of like, what is it going to take? And I feel like we got all the things that we need in this building, from Jed, John, and Cal to all the players. So I feel like it's all hands on deck, and we know what's at stake.
Okay, so I think that captures what the fan base is thinking as well. And then here it is, when specifically being asked about the shoulder injury, take a listen to the exchange as the question never even gets finished.
How do you play as physically as you do, but still trying to protect yourself?
I ain't protecting nothing.
Man. So, Deebo, are you planning on going out of bounds at all if you happen to get the football?
One more time.
How do you play as physically as you do, but still trying to protect yourself?
I ain't protecting nothing.
How do you play as physically as you do, but still try to protect yourself? And he cuts the reporter off. I ain't protecting nothing.
Yeah. And he said it in the answer before. They've been there 4 of the last 5 years. So Deebo has been there 4 of the last 5 years. And a number of these guys, Nick Bosa and all the rest of them who've been this close before, you realize that while it doesn't come around every year, it comes around every year. And even though it comes around every year, you got to get to that spot where you get to the next game and then you actually win that next game. So I'm not surprised to hear him say that.
No.
It does make me, every time he gets the football on Sunday, we're all going to hold our collective breath knowing that he ain't protecting nothing.
It always scares me when Deebo Samuel plays football. I'll be straight honest with you. I've felt this way for 4 years. I don't know that the way Deebo plays is sustainable. And most years, it has proven to not be. And so all you can hope for in those situations is that the injuries are coming, but they come at the quote-unquote right time. And in a way, maybe they have. He was able to be there in the beginning. He was able to be there then kind of 2/3 of the way through the season when the Niners made their run. And while he wasn't able to be there for the majority of the game Saturday, the Niners still won. And so if he can just get through 2 more games and he gets a bye week in between them, if he can just do that, then I guess it's all good. But that's one thing that's always been on my mind when they gave him the contract they gave him. It's like, I get his importance to the play calling, but are you handing over a bucket full of money to somebody who's really not capable of a 17-game season?
Right, but this year he played 15, and he could have played 16 had he not, sat out the one game. Last year he played in 13.
I could argue he also played one less than that because one of the games he was a complete decoy.
He's a decoy,
yeah.
But he was out there, so you give him credit for being out there. And being a decoy when you're Deebo Samuel is very valuable. It's as valuable as some receivers who are out there and the impact that they may or may not make in a game.
He also had 2 games that he, quote-unquote, played in, but he left immediately in the first quarter.
Right. Last year he played in 13 of the 17. So to your point, there are games he misses. It's interesting about Brock Purdy and what you said about how we would perceive his game. He, before that last drive, was 17 of 32 for 205 before he led them on that final drive where he went 6 of 7 and won the football game. So if that drive never happens and he winds up 17 of 32 for 205, we think about Brock Purdy's performance completely different. If they would have lost that game, maybe he fumbles the snap or somebody fumbles the first play,
who knows?
And they don't drive down and score, and that's his final line, then we feel differently about his game. So all these narratives and all these things can change in the blink of an eye.
Obviously, whether there's a W or an L at the end of the line is what totally shades the way we think.